Hello, welcome. Welcome to everyone. We're so glad that you could join us today. We're going to give folks another moment or two, and then we're going to get started. But as you join, we would love for you to just introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know your name, where you are dialing in from, and what your role is. Thanks for joining us, Courtney. Oh, we're going to be at the conference in Dallas soon. Look forward to seeing you there. Hi, Denise. Coming in from Cincinnati State. Pamela, joining from Wichita State. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Becky. Hi, Julian. Hi, Courtney. Hi, Grant. Well, thank you again all for being here. I hope that you've enjoyed our lo-fi beats as we get started. And just really want to again say, like, we are so excited about this session today. It has been something very near and dear to the student parent organization. It's been an all hands on deck, a project between our incredible team here, as well as our student parent designers in the community. We truly believe that this project just embodies what our community is about, bringing together supports for student parents from the higher ed perspective. And so, without further ado, we're going to jump in and just also want you to know that we are joined today not only by our student parent team, but also our student parent co-designers and some fantastic panelists that we have from Miami University, as well as the architects of the course, Ms. Janet Hurn, and our co-designer, Marissa Kovich. So we're going to get into this in a minute, but I'm going to turn this over to Lachey to get us started. Lachey, on to you.
Thank you, Camille. So before we get into the community itself and our conversation, I really just wanted to ground us all in who we're talking about when we say student parents. So 1 in 4 college students is a parent, and that means in almost every classroom, every advising office, or even a virtual course space, student parents are already there, and they're often balancing school alongside caregiving, work, family responsibilities, and things of that nature. About a year ago, this work with student parent organization, this work kicked off with work with advisory councils. We brought together provosts, some faculty, and some institutional leaders, and we really just asked a very simple question that was, what do you want to get out of this space? And across those roles and across those institutions, the common thread was very clear. People genuinely just wanted to better understand student parents and figure out how to support them more effectively, but many just weren't sure where to begin. And one of the most powerful parts of this community, I think, has been creating space for that shared perspective, where student parents and faculty can really learn from each other directly. So that exchange and that mutual understanding is really at the heart of this work. You can go to the next slide, Camille. So you'll see, no, go back one. Okay, so you'll see that reflected in these two quotes that we have here. So our first quote, one professor made the biggest for me as a new mom. I'm sure this means to say the biggest difference for me as a new mom. It was the little things, just simply noticing and caring. I think that this quote is very good. It really resonates deeply with me because I was also a student parent, and it is just the little things that really matter. I think one of the biggest stories that I love to tell in my story is my professor. I had one English professor who completely changed my experience just by caring. I was taking an exam. I had to bring my baby to class because I did not have daycare that day. I had to bring my baby to class, but I couldn't miss the exam. Um, she was having a hard time just sitting in the car seat. We all know how kids are in their car seats. And I was going to get up and leave and just ask if I could take the exam, or I was really honestly prepared to just take the zero. But my professor stopped me and she took my baby and she held my baby for me while I could focus and just like finish and take my test. It was super small, but I felt seen in that moment. I felt supported and I was just very happy. So that was just something just very small, just holding my baby for 35 minutes so that I can focus on my test. So that's great. And I love that. The second quote, I joined this community because I wanted to better understand the experiences of student parents. I care about supporting them, but I'm just not always sure where to begin. We hear this a lot, really, again and again from faculty, from student parents. I really think that from the faculty side, we hear this honest desire to support student parents, but also it's paired with uncertainty about how or where to start. So this community and this course that we're going to be talking about today is really just designed to help us answer that question. It's about moving really from good intentions to informed action. And I think giving faculty and leaders a starting point where they can build from. So from this, I think I'm passing it over to Brianna so she can explain more about the course.
Thank you, Lachey. Hi, everyone. I'm Brianna. I'm one of the designers on the Student Parent Success Project. I actually was a student parent. I just recently graduated school. I became pregnant with my daughter in 2022. I was going into my sophomore year, I believe. And so I had a very incredible supportive system with my academic advisors and my professors. And honestly, I say I'm so blessed because they didn't have to, but they did. And I think that what mattered, most. So just a little bit about the course. So it's titled Supporting Student Parent Learners in Academia, and it's a 6 parts course outline. And so it's over about 29 lessons. And in this course is really capturing different areas. You have your welcome and your course overview, kind of like who are student parents and what that entails. And then kind of some of those practical things that you talk about amongst yourself or things to help you better support student parents. Then you go down to your implementing empathy-based strategies. Listening to student parents, I think it's also important just to listen first, hear everyone's story. What are they experiencing? Because we may think that we can approach things in certain ways, but that's not true for everyone. We have to gravitate and meet them where they're at to show them that we're here listening to, what they have to say. Welcoming and inclusive language. This is capturing like on your campus, like what is a word shift that you can change that really say that student parents belong on your campus and they can have that sense of belonging to know that you care and then that they matter. The student parent balance and ad, we all know that student parents balance so many things other than just academics. And so kind of like diving in deep or what are some of the things that they actually balance and that they, experience on the day-to-day basis. And then removing barriers to learning. We want learning to be as easy as possible to where they won't have to fight so hard to just succeed in the class or have to fight so hard to get the resources that they need in order to see on campus. And then creating a holistic support system. We all know that we are here today because we support student parents and we want to keep moving the work forward. So, how can we actually create that support system amongst our communities to really reciprocate what we're seeing and then the actions that we're moving forward with? So we have a chatterfall for you all. Um, in one phrase, what does it mean to be a champion for student parents? And so how a chatterfall works is that I'll give you a couple seconds to type your answer in the chat, and then when I say send, you all just send it, and then we'll just get a beautiful, as Camille put a picture, a waterfall going with positive feedback on how we can be a champion for student parents. So I'll give you all a couple seconds to answer in one phrase. What does it mean to be a champion for student parents? Okay. One, two, three, send. Okay, okay, okay. I think I love Chatterfalls, but then you have to scroll and see all the good answers. Okay, creating space with them, not for them. Yes, Becky. I would say one thing we do is co-design with and not for. And it's better to have student parents along the way to actually have them there telling you what are they needing. Listen and see, being understanding, normalizing student parents. I agree, Pamela, like normalizing that they're not this extra population that you have to work hard for. They're amongst all populations. Listening and advocacy, bringing their voice to the table and partner with them rather than assume the worst. Because we're not bad. We're not bad. We all want to succeed, for our families and for our kids. And student parents deserve the world. The world.
I
Okay,
love this.
Camille, I'm passing it back to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for defining, your definitions of what it means to be a student parent. And as we can see, they're a champion for student parents. And as we can see, there's such a variety of definitions, and it's hard to really nail, like, what do we mean by being a student parent champion? So now I'm so excited to introduce Janet Hurn and Marissa Kovich. They have really been the architects of this project and coming together, looking at different experiences that they've had, that colleagues have had, and then defining what it means to be a student parent champion. So, Janet is one of our advisory board members. She is also the CEO and co-founder of Future Ready Consulting. She is a tenured faculty professor in physics and has been for over 30 years and has been just such a tremendous support in every way for our community. Marissa Kovich, I always think of our parent identities first. She is the amazing mom of four beautiful children. She just got her bachelor's in psychology, focusing on Christian counseling. Last year, she's currently pursuing her master's in applied psychology. And she has a goal of getting her PhD in psychology. So I will let you all, add more to your background and experiences, but really want to dig into the motivation behind designing the course. So Janet, if you want, we can start with you. Would love to hear about your experience working with student parents as a professor and what motivated you to design the course.
Well, thank you, Camille. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone for coming because it really shows that you want to support student parents. So I'm really glad to see so many people here. I joined the community because I wanted to hear what kind of work Education Design Lab was doing and meet some people and hear what's going on. Because when I started teaching, I immediately had student parents in my classes, and they were always having to go the extra mile and be flexible and do things. I taught a night class, and if people had a babysitter cancel or something, then they got so far behind. And so that was stories I heard throughout my career. So when I joined this community and I started listening to the stories of today and the struggles still that student parents were having, I was excited to bring my experience to the table of creating online experiences and to work with the student parent group to really bring together this course so that administrators, staff, and faculty could just learn different things they could apply right away to be supportive of student parents. And really, I was the curator because the student parents told their stories, and I was just fortunate enough to curate it all together. So.
Thank you, Janet. On that note, would love to turn to Marissa. So Marissa, you've been one of the student parent co-designers in our community. So would love to hear from you. What was your motivation for working on this course?
Yeah, so what motivated me, I remember applying so my story is as a student parent, started a little bit different where my life was basically falling apart. I was on my path to becoming a single mom of four. And so at 40, I went back to school thinking this is what I feel like I need to do to secure my future for my children and I. And as I was applying, I was like reaching out to all these colleges and trying to tell them my situation. And I just kept hearing the word, oh, yes, we have this, like everything's available for working professionals. And I kept hearing that phrase. I'm like, I'm not a working professional. I'm like a struggling mom right now, like a four. So it was just like that mindset. And I don't necessarily think it's like something, it just has been that way for many years, where it's like their mindset is a student is someone on that 18 to 24 range who just graduated from high school, and not a single mom of four in her 40s. And so that was like kind of like my thinking, okay, there's like this missing connection. And I also remember taking this one course with a professor and he kind of gave his background, and he was on his way to retirement, and he had been teaching for 30 something years. And I looked at his syllabus and I was like, wow, this was probably designed 30 years ago. And with that mind of like the 18 to 24 range. So I don't think it's necessarily um not like this, I don't even know what to say, but like almost student parents are invisible. Like when you apply for college, you check that, like there's I always see that box for, are you a military veteran? And there's that box, but I'm like, why don't they put like a box for, are you a parent? Like there's just like the college experience has changed throughout the year. So my motivation in working on this was mainly just to like, I felt like I remember applying to one college, and there was this administrator, and she basically heard my story. She wanted to listen to my story, and she also went out of her way to show me the courses, like, hey, this is a nighttime course that would probably work for your situation, and gave me other options. So I feel like and I thought, wow, there is that one person on that campus who might be that key. So creating a student champion, whether it's a professor or faculty member or even a counselor there, just to be there on the campus to kind of be the voice. And I thought, what if there was a student parent champion? That would be amazing. And so that's kind of how my mind started turning, like just that one person who can make it, like not even just for the faculty, just for me as a student, like thinking, okay, I think I can be seen. I'm not this invisible person.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Marissa. Thank you for sharing your story. You are so right about all of this. And I am now excited to share that we are joined by two real student parent champions on our call. We have Dr. Beth Dietz and Gina Walker. They have completed our student parent champion course, and really excited to hear from you all's perspective just what it's like being a student parent champion and what it was like completing the course. So just to give a quick introduction, Dr. Beth Dietz is a professor of social psychology at Miami University. Her work focuses on belonging, identity, stigma, and gender in educational and organizational contexts. She directs a lab in which undergrad students actively collaborate on applied social psychology resources. And so, in addition, Dr. Dietz is very committed to teaching and mentoring, helping students connect psychological science to real world issues. And we also have Gina Walker, who's the Assistant Director of Transfer Admissions at Miami University. She specializes in supporting transfer students during their academic journey. And she's also a graduate of Miami University, majoring in psychological science, and receiving her Master of Arts degree in Design and Technology, and has been at Miami University since. So thank you both so much for joining us, and would just love to hear from you all about your experience working with student parents and what made you take this course.
I'm happy to start. So I've been a psychology professor for 32 years, and all of that time has been spent on the regional campuses of Miami University. And one of the things that distinguishes the regional campus from the main campus is that most of our students are non-traditional. And lately, they actually are of traditional age, but well, not almost all of them, but a lot of them are parents. And so that's something that has always been the case in my 32 years there. When I started about 32 years ago, the student population was a bit older than they are today. But regardless, I have a lot of my students that are parents. And back in 1999, I was teaching an evening class, and that was populated by a lot of older students, and the majority of them were parents. And I was teaching the class from 6 to 9:30 one night a week. And one of the things that I noticed was at 6 o'clock, I had a full class. Everybody was there. And then as the class progressed, as we got closer to 8 o'clock and then 9 o'clock and then 9:30, I found that students were leaving. Like they kept leaving. And as a young professor, I thought, is it me? Am I a bad teacher? That's not why they were leaving. They were leaving because of childcare issues, because their babysitter had to leave, or because their spouse had to go to work. And it was at that point that I realized that my students that were parents, they had time to take my class. They just couldn't do it between 6 and 9:30 one night a week. And that was with the help of Janet Hurn. We developed the very first online class at Miami University Regionals. And that has been one of our solutions to allowing students who have children to be able to take our courses, to get a bachelor's degree, and still be able to take care of children. And so that's been my experience with student parents, but I feel like I still don't know enough. And that's why I was interested in getting involved in this project. I still feel like I need to reach out to them more to let them know that on the regional campuses, we are very friendly to students who are parents. And to give you another example, it is Miami University policy that minors are not supposed to be in classrooms. And if you walk through the halls of Miami University regionals, we pretend we don't know what that policy is, and you will see children in college classrooms because they can't get childcare. And so we are just automatically very friendly. Most of us are very friendly to the students that are parents. But I still felt like I didn't know enough. I needed to know more about the needs of our students who are parents.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Gina Walker. Thank you for the introduction. I am the Assistant Director of Transfer Admissions at our university. I am really grateful to be here. I myself am also or was a student parent, but my journey started a little bit earlier than college. I was a high school parent. So going into college, it was very interesting to have this perspective of being a teen mom and not always having support from academics or just the world in general. So while I love being a mom and absolutely adored having my son at the time, there was always a negative connotation from certain perspectives. So entering into college as a parent was very interesting because I felt like I was always doing double time to make up for being a mom, which I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just raising a kid. But I was always working extra. And I love someone put in the comments, invisible in plain view. I feel like I tried to be that. I tried to be invisible because I didn't want anybody seeing me as a weakness. So I had incredible support at Miami University, regionals, and particularly Dr. Deeds, especially, was part of that group. So always incredibly grateful to be in a room with her. But yeah, it was wonderful to be invited into this course because while I had wonderful support, I didn't really know what faculty thought. I didn't really go out of my way to ask them how they felt about having a parent in their class. There was definitely at least one occasion where I brought my son to class. And one instance in particular, the professor wasn't a parent herself, so she didn't really have a grasp on children in general. And she was very upfront about that, which I appreciated. And she said, there's this policy where we're not supposed to have children, but we'll give it a shot. And that was really life-changing for me because I was so scared to show up with my son that day, but I didn't have any other options. And it really changed my view, being in college and being a parent. So seeing this project come to life and working through this course, it was really cool to see the tools that were put together to help, and to kind of get a, a view of how others are seeing student parents. It was very nice. Even though I've already graduated, it was kind of nice to look back on younger me, and seeing me in classes and knowing that that support really was there. It wasn't just a front, or it wasn't just anything extra. It was really sincere, and it's wonderful to see that moving forward because I do work with a lot of non-traditional populations, like Dr. Dietz said, at the regional campuses. We have several parents, and it's heartbreaking sometimes to have those conversations where at the end they go, well, I'm also a mom or I'm also a dad. And it's like, that's great. Let's talk about your options. Let's talk about the classes that we have. Let's talk about the daycare on campus. It's not a footnote. It's something that we're all very proud of. And I hate that sometimes people feel like they have to be in conversations where it's a burden. So seeing this community come together has been amazing, and I am looking forward to seeing what comes out of it. So thank you for letting me be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gina. It's amazing to hear your story. And I'm hearing such a common theme with what everyone shared around seeing student parents, how we see student parents, how we feel like we're valued as student parents. Even if there was a box, there's so much more to being a parent than what can fit in a box. And so seeing each other's identity and learning about that whole person is something that I think the course really does a great job of getting at. And as we mentioned, one of the other great things about this course is how it features real stories from real people in our community. And so we're going to give you a couple quick clips throughout the session, just starting with how we're giving that understanding of what it is to really be a student parent. And this video is from Ansara, who's on the call. Hi, Ansara. We're gonna get this video to show.
I'm a stay-at-home mom to three boys, who aren't quite yet old enough to be in school. I'm with them all day during the day. Once it's time to put them down to sleep, I have to hop on to my classes that I take in the evenings. These classes end at 11 p.m. and I used to stay up pretty late to try to get other work done, whether that be chores or um, outside work, trying to get that done after falling asleep. But now that I told myself, no, I need to actually get my rest because I'm waking up early. I just use less time in the day. So yeah, time poverty, time management is very hard as a student parent, as I try to balance.
Yeah, so, we're so grateful for all these stories that were shared. And if you look to the right, this is a page from our accompanying guidebook that goes along with the course. And just to give you a quick preview of how we get into various strategies to help think about and implement strategies just to help with, having that empathy lens when working with and showing up for student parents. And so, as we think about what it takes to be seen as a whole person, would love to hear from personal experiences as well as what you've observed and experienced in the course. Just thinking about what does it really take for student parents to be seen as a whole person? And anybody who would like to start can just jump in.
Well, I can start, Camille. I'll be quick. I think for me, it's really separating the two, like knowing that students are you're a student, but then you're also a parent, and that those are kind of like two different things. And I think a lot of times, as a student parent, you can feel like you're losing your identity depending on, who are you around because they're not seeing you as a whole person, or they're automatically thinking that you can't do something because you're a parent. And I always said that your dreams, they're never really too big when you're a parent. Things may have to pivot, but that doesn't mean that you cannot do them. You can still do them with the right support system and those that are in your corner. So I think for me, it's really just being very supportive, And like Gina said, listing out the options that you can take is workarounds to everything. When you're on the road and on the highway, you have back roads that you can take, but you're still going to get to your destination, right? May not be on the time that you thought because of the fast way, but you'll get there. And so I think that's how I view it. It's just really having those options and really sitting down and planning that with them from start to finish and not giving up during that time.
Thank you, Brianna. Marissa, I'd love to turn to you and just hear, going through the course, hearing these stories and with your own experience, what are some assumptions that you think some faculty members hold about student parents?
Um, well, when I think about that, and especially with my experience, I feel like there's almost like two different things where I feel where some um, faculty treat student parents as, oh, like kind of like a number, but then you have other faculty and professors who think, oh, you're a super parent, you're a super mom, you're doing all of this. And I've heard that so many times. And I'm like, I'm dying. Like, because not only do I like do my schooling at nighttime, I'm homeschooling my four kids. I'm like driving them to all their dance activities and recitals and all these different things. So I'm like, I am struggling here. Like, and like even my journey of doing school, it's a little bit longer. I can't take four classes. I have to take one at a time. So it was a slow journey. But I feel like that's kind of like what Brianna was sharing, like everybody has their own individual story. Like I know student parents who are able to, they only have one child and they're able to focus more on, or if they have an older child, it's like it's different. So I feel like there's like that consideration of seeing every person and hearing their story and what do you need as a student parent because it's different from parent. Like I didn't necessarily need, like I've heard story where a student parent needed like a room to nurse her child. I didn't need that at the time. I needed other resources and help in other aspects. So I feel like just being a place where you could, like, I feel like this course kind of helps touch on, like, everybody has their own story. Every student parent has a different approach in how they are attending their education.
Yeah, I love that. And that's such a great segue to talking about some of those strategies in the course that help faculty to be able to hear those individual stories and develop that empathy. I don't know who would like to jump in here, Janet, Gina, Beth, but what are some of those strategies that either, you recognized or that made an impact on you through the course? Janet, I see you came off of mute.
I did. So one of the great things that the Education Design Lab does and that I believe in is empathy mapping. So taking that time to think through from the student parent perspective what their journey is day to day and how they view the world. I think we don't necessarily take that time to actually go through that. So one of the exercises in the course is doing that because not only is everybody's story different, but every university has a little bit different culture and a different group of students that are there. So really making it specific to the students that are in your classroom or on your campus as a whole is really helpful to kind of just look through their lens through that empathy mapping exercise. It's really great then if everybody does that and then comes together as a group and kind of shares that. And I think that really helps foster that aha moment of, oh, I didn't think of it that way because I didn't have that experience myself. So that's one of the strategies in that chapter that's really nice to go through as an individual and then as a group.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And so having gone through the course, Gina and Beth, is there anything that you feel like through going through the course and hearing stories kind of helped you see and understand with student parents? I know you were a student parent, Gina, but thinking about your current context.
Yeah, I mean, I think several of just the forms and the physical documents that were available through this course were amazing. Like I said, I felt like when I was a student parent, I was consistently in overdrive of trying to just prove to everyone around me that not only could I be a student, but I could be a superior student. And I didn't really know how to stop and really think about what I needed at that time, or what resources I could get. So seeing some of these physical tools that can be printed out or used, and just a classroom setting, to really point out some things that we don't think about, or really take a minute to really just look at how the course is taught and ways that it could be, changed or just even tweaked just a little bit to create some room for parents was amazing. When I joined this course, I thought it would really just be like some reading, some videos, but seeing those physical tools in there, I feel like it really meant a lot.
Awesome. Thank
And
you.
I will echo what Gina just said. In my courses, the thing that I've done, and I'm almost embarrassed about it now because it seems so minimal compared to what I learned in the course, but I collect information from every student at the beginning of the semester. And I ask them, if they have any issues that I need to know about, if they are a parent. And so I was at least doing that part of it, but that's where it stopped for me. I mean, I didn't have anything in my syllabus that spoke to that. Um, in my syllabi, I try to be as inclusive as possible, but I think this course taught me that I can be a lot more inclusive and a lot more sensitive to most of our students who are parents. And so that's what, just like Gina said, that's what was really valuable to me. I already thought I was doing a good job, and I realized I can do a lot better.
Well, Beth, the fact that you even have that on your as a, intro for your class says a lot. I too was a student parent, and it's awkward trying to figure out, how do I start this conversation? Like, how do I let you know? Do we go to office hours? Do I send an email? It's like there's no right way to do that or a comfortable way. So the fact that you did that is, already great. But you mentioned some of that language. So we're now going to get into thinking about welcoming and inclusive language. And this should be something that everyone here can start thinking about how they can shift and implement today. So before we get into reflecting on that section, we have another brief video from one of our other co-designers in the community, Eva.
There's so many challenges student parents face, and one of the hardest is simply not being seen. Did you know that 1 in 5 college students today is a parent? And yet, we remain a largely invisible population. Student parents are everywhere, attending classes, submitting assignments, and even studying late while the kids are asleep. Campus life isn't always built around us or with us in mind. We juggle parenting, schoolwork, jobs, and daily responsibilities while navigating systems that assume every student has the same schedule, the same priorities, and the same support. There's rarely mention of student parents in policy, events, and academic planning. As student parents, we're not asking for special treatment, but for support and access to the same opportunities, to resources, and spaces like family study rooms to.
Oh no. Sorry, these got a bit cut off. But what the point that Eva was making is, student parents feel invisible. And so how can we think about making, just an experience that might feel invisible, switch that to feeling welcomed and included through language and policies? So with that, would love to hear just about what campus practices or policies promote welcoming language for student parents. And would love to either start off with, let's do that. Marissa, do you want to start off with, like, from a student perspective, are there any policies or language that you've experienced that has helped you feel welcomed, and included?
Yeah, so I don't like to be considered as a working professional. But I something that I really loved about the college that I was attending and am attending is it was very family oriented. They had family outings, family movie night, they had ice skating night, they had all of these different activities that included the children. And not only that, they also had a K through 12 school that they could actually attend that was nearby. And I know that's not the possibility for every college campus, but like having like a I don't even think it's like inclusive language, but like making it like a normal thing. Like one thing I remember talking about last year is thinking about Disneyland. When you go to Disneyland, it's not just children who are there. You have adults, you have families, and it's just this very welcoming place that everybody can experience. And so just for almost kind of coming into the atmosphere of what education is today and how it is different, how there are now more student parents who are there. It's like having that mindset of like this is a family thing. This is like for everybody, where like the inclusive language, I guess, would be um like I don't know if you can even think of a word, but almost making it where it's a place that everybody's happy, like the happiest place on earth, kind of, but for colleges where it's like because student parents who are going to college, they're trying to create and bring like create this future for their children. They're not just one mindset, like I'm just going to do this to get that degree. I'm doing this for my children and I want them to see that. I want them to have a good future. I want them to see what I've done for them and they would have like that goal oriented of I am going to make something of myself, whether I go to college or go into some kind of career and make like create become a citizen who can bring something to the community.
I love that. And yeah, that language is so important, and hearing about the difference that makes in everyone's life is so important. And to that end, Janet, I want to turn to you. One of my favorite things about the course is this GPT that you created to help translate existing language into student parent friendly language. Can you please tell us about this amazing GPT that you created?
Sure thing, sure thing. So we have a link in the guide for the course. A lot of times as a faculty member, I just kept recycling my syllabi each year, right? I don't even read it again. I just recycle it, put it out there, recycle it, put it out there. And, we always need to look and make sure that we're including everyone and wording things in a welcoming and positive manner. But that takes time, right? So for those busy administrators, faculty out there, I created this GPT so you could take a paragraph from your syllabus or a policy document and you could upload it or paste it in, and it will suggest more inclusive language that is inviting and more welcoming for student parents. And I think it just helps open up minds and open up ideas. You don't have to use exactly what comes out of it, but it might give you an idea of how you can adjust your due dates, your due date policy. A lot of times we say it's due at midnight, no matter what. And if you don't turn it in, you get a 0. And I don't think we're doing that to be hardcore or to make lives difficult. But then if you put that in the GPT, it'll suggest, well, maybe you could soften the language and maybe you could suggest a sliding scale if it's late, or come see me if you have a conflict. It gives you those ideas that you can put in your assignments and syllabi that just make it more welcoming, and it speeds it up for you so you don't have to sit there and rewrite all your stuff. It'll take care of it for you. So it's a great little tool, and I encourage people to take advantage of it.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks for creating that. It's such a great idea. And so Gina and Beth, would love to hear from you all. After completing the course, were there any policies or practices that you felt inspired to make?
Well, I gotta add, after hearing Marissa's working professional comment, I honestly I relate so much. And I feel like in admission, I refer to that a lot, you know. We talk to a lot of working people, working parents, but it's, working professional is something that I hear a lot. So I think of our own admission materials, our own admission application. For example, within our application, we're tracking who's working. It's completely optional, but students are able to select, yes, I'm working full time. Yes, I'm working part time, but we don't ask them if they're parents. We don't ask them, you know, how many hours a week they spend on extracurricular activities for their children, which I don't know if anybody would want to answer that anyway, but it's time spent, and it's time that is very valuable that could affect their pathway and their education. So I think moving forward, it's definitely something that I'm going to be putting on my notes to possibly be adding to our application to get that insight, and to have those numbers moving forward to say, yeah, these classes are being offered or they're on the table to be offered, but let's look at our students that are applying. What do they actually need? And even our admission materials, we are very siloed in the university where it's you're a first time student or you're a transfer student. Have you attended college? Have you not? But even within our first year student population, a lot of those aren't the traditional 18 to 22 age. They're students that have been out of high school or received their GED years ago and now they're parents or they're working professionals where it's been a long time since they've been out, and they're trying to enter into a world that is a lot of times built for the younger generations. So it's definitely something that I will be looking at moving forward. And the GPT tool and these other tools have been really helpful that I think I'll use to implement some of those changes.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'll just add to that that I'm proud of the regional campuses for things that we started to do probably around the pandemic, where it may be pre-pandemic, where we created space, physical space on our campuses for moms who are breastfeeding, and that sends a message, right? That says to our students, we clearly welcome students who are parents. And keep in mind, we did this despite the policy that says we cannot have minors on campus, right? And so we created these spaces. We used to have diversity, equity, and inclusion spaces on our campuses. We have subsequently been asked to rename those. Nonetheless, those are still advertised as spaces that are inclusive for everybody, but in particular for students who are parents. And so again, despite the policy of no minors on campus, we still allow and create an actual space for our students to bring their children to campus. We also have and have always had a daycare on the regional campus, which again, if that doesn't send a message that we value students who are parents, I'm not sure what does.
Yeah, you're right. And it's so powerful how you said that. And it really speaks to like how we're showing up and seeing student parents holistically and creating that support system for them. So now we have a video from our own Brianna Shaw just on what that holistic support system could
With
look
my
like.
professors, there was times where I had to be late for some coursework. And I communicated with them well that, what was going on, whether it's my daughter's sick, I had to take her to the doctor, or whatever that may look like for me with being a parent. I told them what was going on. They understood and they provide me with grace and they allow me to turn in my coursework when it was convenient for me. And for that, I am grateful because some professors and some academic advisors don't really understand what it means to be a student parent. And I am very thankful that I had those people in my corner to support me.
Love that. And so some of the things, that we're hearing is like you felt seen, you felt heard, there was a policy extension, there was care. And so as we think about this holistic support system for student parents, just want to quickly go around and have everyone give just a quick statement on like after you have completed this course, like what do you feel like and believe that it takes to create this holistic support system for student parents?
I can give some insight. I think just normalizing being a parent really helps creating that support system. Like Beth was saying about our daycare on campus, when I'm giving tours of campus, I say, if you have children, it's a great resource. But even if you don't have children, you can do a student shadow there or something to help normalize that, where it's you might not be a parent, but you will be with other parents, and let's normalize that you will be in classrooms together, that you may share the same resources even if you're on different pathways. So really just normalizing being a parent, showing that classroom ability to talk about being a parent. I know when I was a student, a lot of times when I would give answers, it connected to my children at times, especially being a psychology major. A lot of those conversations, it's, oh, well, I saw my son do this, or I saw my daughter do this. So normalizing having those conversations and knowing that parents are around. I don't think there's any parent that's going to perform less in school. We all want to be great examples for our children. So to give that support system to ensure that we have the access to do that is incredible.
That's great, Gina. I think as well, I think having some kind of group on campus that is a group of student parents. So maybe it's an advisory group or something like that, so that they can not only draw strength from each other, but they can inform some of the policies and wording and things overall on campus. So not just a group of those individuals, but a group that includes those individuals in administration and faculty and staff, so that people get to know them and know what they're feeling and needing, and that real change of culture can happen with everybody being involved, especially the student parents.
Love that. Anybody else want to jump in and just share what you think about creating a holistic support for student parents? And we welcome anyone to also, chime in the chat. How do you define that holistic support system for student parents? Brianna, I know you shared your story. Marissa, is there anything you want to add?
I feel like when I'm like thinking holistically and just like seeing a lot, especially last year working with all the other student parents, like with Brianna and Ansara, and how there's just like this, everyone has these different stories and everybody needs different things. And yeah, just I feel like now that hearing that Gina and Beth have just like have taken the course, and like Beth was saying, like I've been doing this since the 90s, but I'm seeing that I'm still missing that element because times are changing and how things are shifting. Yeah, there always have been those student parents, but my thinking, I was thinking, okay, so this has been going on, but why is there no box in the application that says student parents? But just keep creating that, like being that voice and having a student parent or group on different campuses that just helps bring that, like just keep saying, or almost like say her name. But yeah, just having that mindset of like, let's keep saying this, like they're student parents, like keep waving that flag. Hey, we're still here in the classroom. We haven't gone anywhere. But I just love that it's just this is continuing on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And we also see in the chat, yeah, like there are so many other boxes and we need our own identity. And I truly believe champions like you all are going to just pave the way for brighter futures and more holistic supports for student parents. And cannot thank you all enough just for being here with us today, sharing your experiences, your perspectives, your expertise. And your experience with the course. We only have a little bit of time left, but did just want to, leave a quick space, Janet, if you want to share any final reflections, just about the course. We are offering everyone the opportunity to be able to complete the course, bring it to your own university for professional development, and just, again, just want to thank you for all you put into this and see if you have any final reflections.
Yeah, thanks, Camille. This is way exceeding my expectations in what everybody's brought to this project and how it was a real labor of love and bringing everybody together. Just so everyone knows, I think the best way to go through it is with a group on campus. And we provide the course space that has some video material and some reading material, but we also have the guide that has different worksheets and things that you as an individual or the group can go through together, so that there's actual things you can get done and think about together as well as individually. And then we have a champions guide. So if there's a person on campus, maybe it's you who's in this call today, wants to be that champion on campus, we have a guide for you that recommends how you set up a group and what the cadence could be to meet or to meet virtually and to walk through the course. So we have all of those pieces, and we would love for people to take it to their schools and give it a try and see what happens.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I'm going to kick it back over to Lachey, just to talk about how we enroll in the course. Nope, I'm going to kick it to Brianna to talk about how we enroll in the course, and bring us home. Brianna, do you want to start sharing your screen?
Yes,
Or do
I
you want me to
can,
play this?
Camille. I
All
can.
right.
Okay. Okay. So I created like a quick little video recap of essentially when you log into our community, um, once you have access to the course, you'll be able to see it pop up as the first thing that you'll see. And then we have our community, what it is, our community home, and all those sorts of things. But we also created
But
a form
Brianna,
for,
I'm so sorry. Do you want
sorry,
to go to full screen if you just hit
I'm
slideshow?
sorry. You know what, me
There
and
you go.
technology, we're not the best.
You're all good.
Okay, let me redo this. Okay. So, again, as I was saying, the space for the course, is under all of our public community facing, links. So our community home space and all those sorts of things. Essentially, we created a interest form to allow us to see, if you want to have access to the course, we try to create it to be more like niche as possible. So, for example, like Miami University, they have their section of the course. Therefore, it won't get cross-referenced with other people who are taking the course. You can take it as an individual, or if you want to take it as an institution, then we'll create a dedicated space just solely for you to be able to have that course. And you don't have to worry about, anybody else from a different institution coming in to take it. It'll just be solely your community that's taking that course. And so now I'm going to pass it over to Lachey so she can end this today.
Thanks, Brianna. So I just wanted to open up and just see if anyone had any questions, maybe for Janet or for anyone else on the panel, that they would like to have answered. I think we have maybe about a minute or so to go over any questions, that anyone may have. Okay, we have a question. Janet, what is the next step to join the course?
Yes,
So go
oh, sorry.
ahead. Go ahead, Brianna.
I was just saying, I'm going to drop the link, Janet, but you can talk more in depth for it.
Well, the first step is to join the community, right, Brianna? We want them to join the community and get in there. And then there's an interest form, and I don't know if you have a QR code for that you were going to put up or not, but there's an interest form so you can get your entire university set up in its own class spot. If you're an individual that want to take it, then we should have that link available in the course for individuals to go jump in the course. But really encourage you, if you want to have multiple people at the institution to do it, there's a form. So you just drop the link so that you can show your interest, and we can figure out, do you need an individual space with a lot of other individuals, or do you want a whole course space? So
Thank you, Janet. Okay. I think I see another.
Okay, perfect. So thanks so much, Janet. So I did just drop the link to the interest form, and then Brianna just dropped the link to join the community. So to join the sport community. we would really love it if you guys could take advantage. I think we have a QR code on the next screen to join the sport community. And I believe the course is available through the community as well. So please take your time, fill out the interest form so we'll have your information. And just to let you guys know what's next, the to connect with which ed design lab community, that is the SPORG community. So SPORG is a student parent organization. Sorry. Hope that answered your question. So what's next with Sporg? March, we will be at Gen Hope in Dallas. So we will see you there if you all will be attending. April, we have two webinars coming up, one for our 1 year anniversary and then another for ecosystem alignment. So once we have dates and links for those, we'll be sure to send them out not only in the community, but also on LinkedIn and other areas as well. So we hope to see you guys at all three of these events. And I believe that is it for us. So if no one else has anything, it was wonderful talking with you guys, and I enjoyed every minute of this. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to Brianna. Thank you, Camille, for facilitating. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.